Welcome back to the Banking Bros podcast, where we help you take control of your money and protect your future. Guaranteed. Today, we're diving into a topic most people avoid or potentially don't even think about. That was us. Long-term care planning and why it's time for you to get serious about it.
Yeah, because honestly, the truth is that the numbers a lot of times don't actually move people. You can tell someone that, hey, 70% of us are going to need long-term care insurance, some sort of care, and they just kind of shrug, oh, well, keep moving with their life. But when they picture their spouse writing maybe $8,000 checks every single month, right, or their kids having to quit jobs to take care of them, that's actually when it hits home. And a lot of times that happens just a lot later in life, right?
It does. So the risk versus consequences episode here is how to get serious about long-term care. So first off, most people view risk and they, like Jonah mentioned, don't act on percentages. They don't act on numbers. And it's hard for me and you listeners out there to predict the drama and trauma, the consequences that will come to your real life from a potential numbers scenario.
That's right. I think that a lot of times we've heard from some industry experts recently on this topic of long-term care, and a lot of times the numbers really were they were so astronomical that it's hard to wrap your mind around.
It is. At the same time, you're a numbers guy, so I think some of these numbers and us being in the industry potentially moved you, but we have to come back and talk to the general public who's out there at work right now. You're on the treadmill, you're driving, and you're not really concerned about this topic. So we might be enlightening you for the very first time.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you that sometimes numbers can be really helpful, and I like to just kind of prepare and prep a little earlier than maybe the average person does. But when you hear some of these numbers, it's almost, you get the overwhelming sense of all I can do is prep and prepare. Because if I do not, these numbers absolutely are going to take us out.
Doomsday.
Right?
Right.
They're just so big. And the percentage of chance of you or your spouse, I'm married, I know a lot of our listeners out there are as well, the percentage of you or your spouse having to use long-term care when you're older is really high. It's 70 or 80% currently.
Well, and they say that it gets up to 90% at a certain age.
At a certain age.
At a certain age. So you got to think about what long-term care is. Jonah, remind us and define long-term care needs and what people are going to face normally as they go into physical and cognitive decline over time.
Yeah, so long-term care is this care that you need for you or your spouse a lot of times where you need help completing some of the activities of daily living is what they call them. And so in order to qualify for long-term care, you have to be struggling to complete 2 of the, I think there's 6, activities of daily living. They are the things that you do every single day. It's getting up and down out of bed. I think they call that transferring, or getting back into bed, or getting in the shower or bathtub or whatever. It's going to the bathroom. So I think they call that toileting, right? It's eating. It's
feeding yourself. Feeding yourself is the idea.
Yeah, feeding yourself. It's getting dressed. It's bathing, I think, is one, and I'm missing one.
The last one is continence, keeping it all in when you're supposed to and letting it out when you're supposed to. So those things are also very much personal dignity areas. So the point at which you can't get out of the bed, you're in your jammies here. You need to go to the bathroom. And you're struggling with these things and you can't eat. I mean, that's the first hour of your day.
Yeah, it seems like 2 of them are connected, right? Not being able to get up and out of bed probably means you're going to have trouble keeping it in, right? Like I said, that first hour, think about that first hour and the last hour before you go to bed. So if we're trying to get out of the bed in the morning, we're probably headed to the bathroom. We're probably going to shower, put on clothes, and eat, right? Boom, 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 boom. It's all wrapped up in that. And if you can't do those things, I mean, as they say, unfortunately, to be macabre, that's a big word for you, you're in the bed, you're dead. So if you can't get out of the bed, if you can't move around and get it going in the morning, you know what I'm saying? So if those 2 of those 6 activities of daily living are unable to be performed by your lonesome,
then you can qualify for long-term care assistance. Now, long-term care assistance means that someone potentially helps you do those things, but it doesn't mean you move out of your house and go to a nursing care facility.
Yeah, so where it gets really interesting, right, is if you can't do 2 of those 6 things, a lot of times you have to hire someone to help, or you need your kids to move closer. You need to move to them. Whatever.
Or your spouse needs to be super strength, the strength of the Black Panther to get you up out of the bed.
You got to imagine the scenario, right? You're a little bit older. You're in your 60s or 70s or 80s when these things start happening, and so you don't have a spouse that's got the strength anymore, right? Or you don't have kids that live close anymore. They've had their own families for 20 years, 30 years, that sort of thing. They got their own jobs. They live across the country, whatever it is. And so what a lot of people don't realize is if you start to not being able to do that stuff, you either need help or you need to go live in a different facility. And the prices on needing help or living in a different place, and again, I'm talking about a nursing home or assisted living facility or
home
getting
healthcare,
an in-home nurse or whatever. The prices on this stuff are crazy high.
As they should be.
Today.
I mean, this is somebody who's doing a full-time, or at least at the time, right? If, let's say you need somebody to help you in the morning for an hour, you need them to get your meals ready or something because you can no longer stand or cook long enough. You can maybe chill and use a spoon, and then at night. But during that time, it's full-time care during that time. So even if it's, let's say, at mealtime, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, maybe getting up in the morning and going down at night, that is a full conscious, physical, cognitive. They've got to have several different skills, understand your pills and your skills, right? What you can do. And that's a big deal. So shout out, you mentioned, I'd like to mention her. Shout out to Michelle Prather. She works with one of the companies that has the top long-term care product. And over the course of listening to her and seeing her in person, she's given us a lot of stats that have really helped us. And she has come to our office virtually here at the Cash Compound where the banking bros reside, and our HQ, our headquarters, and our coaches are well-versed in having this conversation with Americans all across the country. So if you think you need a conversation about you and yours as you age and as you potentially have those physical declines as well as severe cognitive declines can also trigger your long-term care, we're ready to have that conversation with you. So thank you to Michelle, and she gave us a lot of numbers that we're going to dive into right now.
Yeah, well, so I was going to just bring back up kind of when I was mentioning the cost of some of this stuff. So again, imagine you're in a situation where you or your spouse need help in some of these areas, and you're a little bit older. So like we mentioned, you don't have the strength, you don't have family close, you don't really want to move. This is where you decided to retire. This is where you live now. This is what you like. And all of a sudden you need help. The cost of this stuff is through the roof. Like home health aides, I think right now in 2025, the average cost is somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000 a month. A private nursing home is somewhere between $7,000 and $9,000, and I believe an assisted living facility is even above that. It was closer to like 10 or something every single month. And so the reason I point that out is because I don't know lots of people who have an extra $60,000 to $120,000 ready to go for multiple years here, right? What if this happens and you need long-term care for a long time, for 2, 3, 4, 5 years straight? Or for the rest of your life, right? I don't know a lot of people who just have that sitting around ready to use it, and the people who do have it don't want to use it for that. Right?
I think that's a big deal, and I've seen Dave Ramsey, as we've mentioned before on this podcast in a different episode, go back and find it, is that he has the opinion that I think Jonah would challenge, and it's the opinion of, well, if you've got $1 million, long-term care may be unnecessary and or is unnecessary because you can stroke the check.
Yeah, it's an opinion that I really dislike. He says that a lot. There's a lot of people out there who follow his advice on that. This idea of self-insuring is kind of the proper term for it. It's we did well enough in life that we have enough money so we don't need to carry the insurances anymore. We'll just pay for it if that thing happens. But here's the key. I know real people with real dollars, maybe people who have hundreds of thousands or people who have millions. I don't personally know any billionaires. I do know a couple people, probably more than a couple, that have got more than $1 million, right? And those people don't want to spend the money on things like that. Those people that I know, real life people who've got $1 million, they buy insurance because they're like, why in the world would I use the money I worked hard for. Like I spent most of my working years building this business, or I spent most of my working years investing into myself or this or that, or in order to get where I am. Why in the world would I say, no, I know I want to drive the new Tesla, right? The new Cybertruck, the new F-150, whatever, and I won't put any insurance on it. If I end up hitting someone or someone hits me, I'll just cut the check for another $100,000 in order to get the real people with money don't do that. Real people with money go, no, I'd rather give State Farm $50 or $100 every month, so I don't have to come out of pocket with $100. It's much easier to budget around $100, $200 for some insurance than it is to have on standby the big number if the thing happens. And that's really what we're diving into with this long-term care. The numbers are through the roof, and they're just increasing. I think the studies are showing right now that the long-term care costs are rising faster than inflation. And everybody knows about inflation. Go look at your local grocery store right now and talk to me about inflation. The prices are through the roof. And so if these numbers are rising even faster than inflation, you need to buy this insurance. That's just what it boils down to at the end of the day. And the younger you are, the more likely you are to need to buy it now because the prices are going to be too high, if that makes sense, right? Insurance is one of the only things, we've said this on a podcast recently, but insurance is one of the only things you have to buy before you need it. You have to buy before you need it. And so like an episode like this on our podcast is to implore you and urge you, all those people who are listening out there, that you have to buy this insurance. If you do not, the statistics say that you're over 3/4, right? 70% or higher, over 3/4 likely to need this. And if you do not have the insurance, the prices on this stuff are between $5,000 and $12,000 a month. Or you can buy the insurance before you need it, which is when you have to buy insurance now. And so we're urging you and imploring you to like, hey, here's some stats, here's some statistics, here's some numbers, here's what's happening. Please consider buying this.
So I want to have a conversation right now about the sandwich generation. There are plenty of people who are actually in one, they're maybe our age. I'm 40 plus, just hit the 40 threshold. But there are people, which is, I'm now literally middle-aged, right? Mm-hmm. So there are people above us, though, in our parents' generation who still have living parents.
Right.
That's often called the sandwich generation. The sandwich generation has kids just getting out of the house. And our mom, I'm the oldest of 6, so mom just became an empty nester.
Yep.
So she's in the sandwich generation because grandma, her mother, is still alive.
Yep.
Got it? So mom is 60 plus, but her mother is 80 plus. And both of her parents, grandma and grandpa, are still with us. We talk to them. They're with it right now, but they're in their mid-80s. So we start to see something different than we've seen in previous generations.
Yep.
We're starting to see longer lifespan.
Yep.
Okay. So number one, they're still with us and they still watch TV, and probably grandma, if you're watching, she's probably on the TV Guide right now. I was out there highlighting stuff on the TV Guide, watching soaps with grandma back in the day when I'd be home from school, right? Number one. Number two is that there is a need for a 60-year-old like mom to still be in the workforce.
Yep.
She needs to work. She has parents living, and our mom, because of the situation of our personal family situation, she's overseas as a military spouse. But if she were home in the States, she would still be states away from her mother.
Yep.
Okay. She also has children. She has 2 single children still who have the tendency to come home every once in a while.
Yep.
So she's taking care of their college and supporting them financially with cars and things like that. These are 2 unmarried girls in our family.
Yep.
So now we've got a sandwich generation, and she's got a brother. So we have an uncle who are now having conversations, because it trickles down to us. It always gets brought up around the holidays when we're together about, hey, what are we going to do when and if?
Yep.
And we're starting to hear them talk about it. And this is during a time where grandma and grandpa are fine. If you talk to them, they're going to be talking about lots of doctor's appointments. However, cognitive and physically, they still do not need care. They would not qualify. So here's the question, Jonah. The question is, what type of financial burdens are the sandwich generation getting into when their parents need long-term care?
Yeah, well, I think financial burdens is a good topic. We should talk about it, but I've heard lots of statistics on the cognitive burdens of those people in the sandwich generation. And actually, I heard one that was super, super shocking. I think I might mess it up, but you might be able to help me fix it. I heard that if you're sandwiched and need to take care of parents, and parents didn't prepare appropriately because they didn't know or they just didn't look ahead into the future enough, didn't save enough, whatever it might be. And now a lot of that financial burden and or physical care burden actually falls on you. I've actually heard that because of the stress, you actually have a shorter life expectancy than the parents do.
Isn't that crazy? And because so many boomers are getting to the place where they're retiring now, and some of their parents are still living, our grandparents just missed the boom on the early side. Mom just missed the boomer on the late side, but they're right there. You guys know what we're talking about. They just happen to be in that generation that it is really stressful. We'd like to hear from you. If you have a story about your own personal situation, and like Jonah mentioned, it's becoming very stressful for you cognitively, we'd like to know about it. But let's talk about the costs financially straight out of the pocket. Jonah, number one, direct caregiving costs. Remember, out-of-pocket medical expenses go nuts.
Yep.
And even with Medicare, long-term care services like home health aides, assisted living, or nursing homes are not fully covered. Adult children often step in to pay.
Yep.
All right.
What are you going to do? You're going to leave mom and dad out to dry?
Right.
No.
What about housing modifications? We've got a client right now that we have dealt with, and they're utilizing the save and spend system, but they needed to move mother-in-law. Grandma needed to move into the house. So they modified. Lots
of people did that growing up even, and you don't think about it when you're a kid growing up, but I mean, I've had lots of friends who you build the mother-in-law suite because people have to move in.
Well, you're going to have to renovate this garage.
Yeah, you got to put in a ramp. You got it. Exactly.
Yeah, big deals. Okay, so we're talking about ramps, lifts, grab bars, right? We're talking about taking the lip, taking the bathtub down to a lip. I don't know any remodeling terms. What do you call that?
I don't know.
You just take it down
the
to
ones with the doors now, I think.
Yep. Okay. All right. Now, how about work and income strain, reduced earnings? If you have to take care of mom, grandma, uncle, or aunt, you can't go to work.
There you go.
All right. So you have to take lower paying or flexible jobs because you need to check in the morning or check in every night. What if you don't live close? What if they have pets? What if you have pets? This becomes really strained. And loss of retirement contributions. If you are contributing to qualified plans, but you stop going to work, the benefits of that plan, although we've had plenty of episodes talking about the cautionary tales, they go away or they are extremely reduced. All right, what about debt, Jonah? What type of debt can we get into?
A lot. Because the prices are crazy. So a lot of times you got to go into personal credit cards and personal loans and home refinances and everything because you don't have the money to pay for this stuff. And so, again, it's really an episode to implore the listener out there to highly, highly, highly consider this. You should buy, again, the earlier you buy it before you need it, the less expensive it is. That's a pretty standard thing when it comes to something like long-term care insurance.
Right.
But again, the statistics say you need it. The cool part about long-term care insurance, and a lot of companies, especially the ones that we work with in order to provide this, do have benefits if you end up not needing it. They'll give it to your beneficiaries. They'll pay it out. They'll do this and that and the other, which make it really cool. There's also even some benefits where you can buy one policy but insure more than one person. All sorts of fun things like that. And so, but yeah, man, I don't. It's almost detrimental to think about without being prepared and prepped for.
Isn't it? Like this is
expensive.
This is a tough thing to really consider in your own family. The reason I brought up our families, extended families, and the families that we were born into is because we start to realize that the family burden could be significant. Mm-hmm. The family burden means that even if the money is there could be emotional and physical toil on people trying to figure this out. We all live in different places. Out of our family, there are 6 of us. We are, we're natural brothers here. We're the only 2 who live in this community. Everybody else lives far away. Closest one's like 3 hours. So when we start to consider who's supposed to be in charge and who's going to spend money just in case it happens to he or she, now the question is, are we going to get into crazy arguments and sibling rivalries and favoritism? And wait a minute, I was going to get left the China, the T-set, and the Corvette in the garage, but it disappeared. When my other brother, I'm going to not put it on you, but we have one more brother. When my other brother went to visit, all of a sudden, all the stuff that I thought was mine is not there when I go to visit at Thanksgiving. How many of you have ever had to deal with this? We'd love to know. Give us a shout. Put it in the comments. If you are watching us right now on the YouTube channel at The Banking Bros, we'd love to know some of the warnings or examples that you could give us or the other listeners to our great podcast here. And if not, we'd love to talk with you one-on-one so we can help you and the future generations avoid this type of problem and get a check when the bad times come.
That's right.
Jonah, talk to us about why this specific product that we know most and best at one of our favorite insurance carriers has all the bells and whistles and features that you said, the fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, again, let me kind of give everyone who's listening a little bit of a history lesson. You guys know from listening to our podcast or watching our videos that our main focus is on the infinite banking concept, whole life insurance, guaranteed income through that process. And because we use mutual insurance companies with long track records of paying dividends and all sorts of fun stuff, they do sell other products. We kind of, for a long time, didn't really pay attention to the other products. No big deal. We have the one that we like. We are using it actively. We're helping lots of people use it. And then we were introduced just to, hey, you really should consider this other product, and it's this long-term care insurance product. And when we were presented with some of the numbers on how long-term care works, it really made a lot of sense for us to say, we do need to think about this and make sure that people are aware and know it. And really, it has some benefits that I mentioned before that are really, really helpful. The first is the dual benefit, right? Because if you need care, then the policy will pay for it. But if you don't end up needing care, your heirs, your beneficiaries will get the money. Very, very similar to life insurance. So you're paying for a policy that is designed to help you with long-term care, but just in case you don't need it, your family does get the money. It's very, very similar to life insurance. You're paying, or whole life in infinite banking, you're paying for a policy for you to use cash value. But if you pass away earlier before you use all the cash value, then your family gets the rest of it, right?
Right.
It's the same deal. There's also fixed premiums, which can be very helpful, meaning your cost does not increase. You buy it now, so I'm 33. This product at our favorite company, you have to be 35 to purchase it, right? So I do not have this product personally. There is a reminder on my calendar when I turn 35 to go purchase this product, because at 35 is the least expensive it's ever going to be, but the premiums are fixed. So I'm able to buy that policy at 35 years old with a fixed cost. It will not move. It doesn't matter what inflation does or who's the president or what Congress does or what the tax rates do or war. It just doesn't matter. The premiums are not moving. And when I'm in 30 years down the road, when I'm 65 and maybe need to use it, guess what? Inflation's going to go through the roof. The housing market, all this stuff's going to go up like crazy, but not my cost of the insurance that I bought 30 years ago. Imagine if you bought that house 30 years ago. Imagine if you bought that car 30 years ago. What's the payment? Is it the same as it is today on the new house? No, it's not even close. It's so little compared to what it is today, and that's the key. Have a fixed cost. It doesn't move on you. And the last thing that I think is just peace of mind. I do not want this hidden, this is kind of like the elephant in the room, right? It's the elephant in your life. I just don't want it later on. I did hear about that. I should have prepared and I didn't know. I just don't want it. I don't want to have to drain my assets. I don't want to have to drain my retirement accounts. I don't want to have to, I saved up all this money inside of my whole life insurance policies for retirement, and I don't get to use it for that anymore because I have to pay now for the nursing home because my spouse needs to get there, right? Or whatever it is. I don't want it. I want to be able to pay for that and still be able to do the other stuff. And I think that's the key word, and. You're able to do that and something else if you prepare early. And that's what insurance is all about. Prepare ahead of time.
I love this, Jonah. I think that I'm going to end with a story here, and it is a fake story, an analogy. I have been involved in sports entertainment over the years. And when you're watching baseball, you got a bullpen full of pitchers, right? Those of you who are not sports fans, the pitcher's throwing the ball. The bullpen is all the guys who are warming up, right? They're on standby to take over when the pitcher gets tired or starts throwing a bunch of lobs in there and everybody's hitting off of them. But here's the thought that I have. If you go into the game by yourself, as Dave Ramsey would suggest most of the time, or your nest egg may trick you into thinking, do you think the pitcher would play a different game, throw differently if he knew if I got tired, there's nobody else to throw?
Yep.
It's on me. I have to make this work. Do you think he pitches a different game if he knows I've got the best relief pitcher waiting for me?
Yep.
We can do this together, and we can come out with a win, a W at the end of this, and I can fire them in there as fast and as hard and as weird as I want to because I can get relief anytime. But if you know you have to make it 9 full innings by yourself and you're counting on things you don't control or that have market volatility or may cost more, what if the batters somehow get better the longer you pitch?
Yep.
They get bigger, they get stronger, the bats get thicker. There's no way that you can go into every next inning thinking, well, I can give it my all this inning. You can't because you don't know how long you have to play.
Yep.
So if you go into extra innings, it's over. It's over for you, and there's no way that you can keep the heat coming down the pipe for an indefinite amount of time. So think about that in terms of a baseball analogy. If you've got backups for unending care checks, income tax-free, will not run out for the rest of your or their whole life, whoever your plus one might be, then can't you play a different game in retirement? Can't you play a different game at vacation time? Can't you play a different game with your family at holidays? Because
sure can.
Well, in the event that I start to outlive my brain functionality or my physical functionality, there will still be money there. It's a big deal, Jonah. Long-term care planning isn't just about writing checks. It's about making sure your family never faces impossible choices financially, cognitively, or emotionally.
I agree wholeheartedly. Before we end our episode, let's give a quick shout out to our fan follow of the week. And this week, our fan follow is Scott Kidd. He's over there on YouTube as Scott Kidd 1969, and he's a yacht captain, actually, and hosts a podcast, the Yacht Captain Investor Podcast.
Let's go.
And you know what I think?
Have we met him?
We should reach out to Scott
yeah,
and see
we should.
if we can't do an episode together on his podcast. So if that happens, keep tuning in to the Banking Bros podcast, whether you're watching us on YouTube or whether you listen on your favorite podcast app. But we're going to do our best to see if we can't get an episode with Scott Kidd. Scott, we really appreciate you subscribing to our channel. If you've got any questions, thoughts, or concerns, leave them in the description or comment of this video. We'll tag you so you know. And if you have something that you'd like to walk through, talk through, ask a question about financially, we are definitely going to be available to answer that for you. So we really appreciate you. So back to the episode. I think we're probably wrapping up, right?
Yeah, man. With asset-based long-term care, you're not gambling with your money, friends. Either it covers your care or it becomes a gift, tax-free, to your family at your reunion, a.k.a. homegoing, a.k.a. funeral.
There you go. So I think if you want to see how this can work for your personal situation, then what you should do, you should click the link in the description of this podcast. You can book a call on our calendar. We'd be more than happy to talk to you. You can head over to our website at thebankingbros.com, and you can reach out to us, make a consultation. You can send us a message, whatever you want to do, so that way we can plan it out for you before it's too late. Long-term care insurance is actually way more affordable than you think, but we do suggest that you work with someone who knows what they're doing so they can set it up the right way for you to make sure that it's going to work for your situation. So we really appreciate you listening. We'll catch you next time on another episode of the Banking Bros Podcast. Peace.
You are now tuned to the Banking Bros. Said we couldn't make it, drink or settle, this the life we chose. Gave a lot of game, we never got a lot of things. Bow your head and say the prayer, we taught you how to be the bank.
When parents need care, the cost can surprise. From homes to our wallets, the burdens arise. Savings can shrink while the debts may expand. The risk is ignored till the consequence lands. Prepare now with wisdom. Protect what you've planned. We'll talk to you soon right here at the Banking Bros.